Yeah, Don, I think you can probably start recording now. We decided to put this in the diary just to offer organisations a little bit more of a chance to get to know more about HPass. We had a couple of events recently where we presented it very briefly, and a couple of organisations had expressed interest in learning a little bit more about it. So we thought we'd put this in the diary to bring together a few different organisations that are interested. And obviously afterwards we'll be very happy to follow up if there's specific questions related to your organisation that you don't want to raise on the call, or yeah, if you just want to talk in more detail. But today, so we're just going to go over what HPass is all about and what it offers, and start to talk about how you can get involved. So just to get started, it's a new platform which is dedicated to humanitarian professional development, promoting quality, consistency and transparency in the way that humanitarians are trained, assessed and recognised. And it's new this year really, but it's been in development for about 2 years before that. And although it's led by the Humanitarian Leadership Academy, where I work and where Don works, my colleague who you'll have seen on the call, it's actually a collaborative initiative led by 8 different organisations. So we've got a steering committee that includes other organisations, including IFRC, REDAR, Force Institute, a couple of organisations that are focused on logistics, and Pearson is also on there as well. So we very much kind of conceived of it as a sector initiative, which hopefully reflects the needs of many different organisations. And so you can go and visit our website to find out more about us. That's what it looks like there. We've also got some kind of leaflets and things that we can send you as well with more information on them. And we're on LinkedIn and Twitter if you want to look us up. And HPass offers essentially 2 different services. And we're going to focus very much on digital badging today, which is the first service that we offer. So the digital badges are created by humanitarian organisations in recognition of skills and experience and achievements that they value within their organisations, and issued to humanitarians for them to display within what we call a My HPass profile, which they can carry with them from role to role and from location to location as a kind of portfolio of their achievements. And that's what we're going to talk about in detail today. I just want to touch upon the other service that's offered by HPass, which is our learning standards. So we have 2 sets of learning, 2 sets of standards even, one focused on humanitarian learning and one on humanitarian assessment. And those were developed through a 2-year process, which was led by the Force Institute based in France. And they consulted with 400 organisations worldwide to bring together best practice in humanitarian learning and humanitarian assessment. So those tools are available from the HPass website, and you can download them for free. And we're hoping that they'll be a really good resource for the sector. So happy to provide more information on those at any point. But today we're going to talk more about the digital badging. And so with the digital badges, we're aiming to promote a system of recognising humanitarian skills and experience, which reflects the challenges that are specific to the humanitarian sector. So one of those is the idea that many humanitarians are learning on the job. So lots of them are time poor, and they're often learning through practical experience, as well as kind of formal courses and assessments. Lots of the people that work in humanitarian responses, and in fact the vast majority of people, are volunteers based in the areas where crises happen, and they have lots of relevant experience to offer, but may not be able to offer so much in terms of the formal skills and qualifications, or formal certifications even. And so we want to kind of create a system which enables you to recognise lots of different types of achievements in order that those are properly valued. The second one is movement. So the idea that humanitarians move frequently between locations and organisations. So they need to be able to very quickly provide evidence of their skills and experience, which is recognisable across borders. And then the last one, which is very much related to movement, is the idea of rapid deployment. So line managers and HR people in the sector need to be able to make important decisions quickly about candidate suitability for certain posts. So the idea that we have is to create a system whereby you can see very much at a glance what skills and experience a humanitarian offers. So just to go into a little bit of detail then about what is a digital badge. And this may be obvious to some people and completely new to others. So I'll just go through it. And a digital badge is an indicator of achievement like a certificate that can be displayed, accessed and verified online. So you can see on the right-hand side there some examples of what digital badges look like. And you can see that they come in all different shapes and sizes. Yeah, there's the HPass designs there, which are shown in green and orange and one of the blue ones, but there's also lots of different ways that they can be designed. Organisations have approached it in different ways. And there are some clues on the front of each badge as to what that person has done in order to earn it. But the detail is in the metadata. So when you double click on a digital badge, you can see in detail what somebody has done in order to earn it. And that might give you details such as the amount of time that they've spent on a course, for example, or whether they've had to do a formal assessment, whether they've had some experience which has had to be verified by a line manager. And on creating the badge, you can put in as much detail as you want in order to give it the weight that you want it to have. And so a digital badge can be displayed as part of a badge portfolio. So within HPass, we call it our My HPass portfolio. And somebody can gather badges from all sorts of different organisations that they've worked for. So if they work for a while for Save the Children and then they move on to working for the Red Cross, they can gather badges from each of those organisations and display them in one place and keep that one portfolio. Likewise, if they do learning from an external provider, such as the Humanitarian Leadership Academy or another one, they can display all of their badges in that one portfolio and take it with them. And from that portfolio, they can share their badges. So they can, for example, share a link to that portfolio on their CV or in an email that they send to somebody. They might want to share it via social media or on an e-signature. So there's lots of different ways of sharing once you've got it within that portfolio. And HPass badges are developed by organisations using something called the Badge Factory, which is quite a simple step-by-step process, which Don is going to talk about in a little bit more detail later in the call. And there's just a little bit of information there about digital badging being used widely outside of the humanitarian sector. And so what HPass is aiming to do is offer a service specifically for humanitarians. And so this slide is showing the two main components of HPass. So on the one hand, you've got the Badge Factory, where badges are created. And on the other hand, you've got your profile, where they're displayed. So you can see on the factory side, badges can be issued manually or they can be issued automatically. So at the bottom there, you've got a range of different learning management systems listed. So for example, if somebody completes a course on one of those systems, they could automatically be issued a badge to say that they've done that. Alternatively, you can also issue them manually. So if somebody's done a face-to-face course or they've done an online course combined with some practical experience, you can upload a list of the people that have achieved that. You just upload your Excel spreadsheet and those badges will be issued to that person. And just to say that that list at the bottom of different learning management systems is not necessarily an exhaustive list, because if there's a different learning management system that an organisation is using, we're also happy to explore integration with that. So once somebody has earned a badge, they then receive an email letting them know that they can claim their badge, and it instructs them to claim it and to issue it to their My HPass profile where they can store it. And from there, they can share it if they choose to via social media, or they can just keep it on that portfolio and share a link to it when they want to let people know about it. Okay, so these are some of the benefits of digital badging for learners. Some of them we've talked a little bit about already. So firstly, it's an at-a-glance evidence of your skills and qualifications with the detail visible in the metadata. It enables you to maintain that central portfolio of achievements, which you can transfer with you as you move between organisations and locations. You can make your professional profile public and share it with colleagues and potential employers. And you can share it in a range of ways, as we mentioned. It provides motivation as well by offering somebody something tangible at the end of completing a course or assessment. It gives them additional motivation to pursue their professional development. And also in terms of wanting to kind of populate that portfolio and make it as complete as possible. And then the last point there about participation in a community of humanitarian actors is really about the idea that through HPass you can gain kind of inspiration for your own professional development. So you can see badges that other people have been earning, or what are the most popular badges, for example, and get some ideas for kind of courses that you might want to do as well. And so here are some of the benefits for learning providers. So firstly, it's a very flexible medium. So lots of organisations choose to use badges to recognise course or module completions, but you can use them much more broadly than that. So you can also recognise practical experience or assessed competencies, or a combination of different things. So World Vision created a badge called Disaster Management Foundations, which basically denotes that somebody is eligible to join their international surge team. It's the kind of prerequisite for being able to join. And it brings together learning from a bunch of different organisations externally that they felt would be useful for people to know, plus some World Vision learning as well. So in their case, they were thinking, how can we not kind of reinvent the wheel, but draw on learning that's being offered elsewhere? It's a motivational tool, as we talked about. It enables you to easily identify staff with relevant skills. So for example, if there's a particular technical expertise that you value within your organisation, you can badge that, and it helps you to locate people that have that particular skill. If you're offering learning publicly, as well as to an internal audience, it would be useful to you to offer badges in a searchable catalogue as well. Enables you to track the success of a course and your course completers, and it's quite a minimal time and capacity requirement to develop and issue badges. So Don will talk a little bit more about that step-by-step process further down the line. But we think it's probably a 1 to 2 hour process for developing each badge. Actually, in reality, it's probably less than that once you get used to the process. And the real kind of the work goes into the actual thinking behind it. So your sort of strategy for how your organisation is going to approach badges. But once you've kind of done that initial bit of thinking, the actual creation of badges is a very easy task. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Don now.
Great.
To talk through how to create a digital badge.
Thanks very much, Esther. So basically, as Esther said, the technology part is really probably the simplest part. And the other thing we do is we provide some offline tools for you to work with. So we have a badge creation worksheet, for example, that is a guided way to say, okay, here's how you come up with the title of a badge. Here's a good way to write a description. And here's how we advise you to describe what it takes to earn the badge, for example. So you can work on those. We can help with badge design. Over on the right there, we have an element from our badge design guidelines. And it's a way of showing a common shape that would be customized to your corporate branding in terms of color and in terms of logo, but then also have these signals, visual signals, talking about what the badge is about. This one, for example, has a summative assessment, so that's why it has that check mark down on the bottom. It also is accredited according to like a formal program for quality over on the top right. And in the middle is the content, 222 hours would be how long it would take to take the course. So that would be a very long one. Very often you'd see something like 2 or 5 or 10. That gives somebody an idea at a glance what it takes to earn the badge. So once you have your design ready and you've worked up, the stories of the badges, it's a simple matter to log on to the system and simply copy and paste and upload the elements, and then you're ready to issue the badge. So when we say 1 to 2 hours, that, as Esther says, that might be for the first badge, but if you were doing, say, 5 of them in a series, the other ones would just be minutes to complete. As we said before, we have a number of guides and even I would call them almost playbooks. So basically guidelines for creating badges and ways of thinking through how to get started with your badging, how to carry it on forward. We have guidance all along the way. And myself, I'm available to help coach you and even help you do the elements for the first couple of times, and then you can take it on from there. Yeah, I think I'm ready for the next slide. We're back to the beginning. Okay, great. So just coming up is an example of...
Sorry, apologies. I'm having some trouble with the slides again.
Problem.
They just seem to be sticking. Which one can you see?
I can still see the one I was just speaking to.
Okay. Might just stop share and share again.
Sure. I feel like I can share mine.
Oh, go on then, yeah, if I'm having this trouble. Thanks.
No worries. Bring that up. Sure. And, okay. So can everyone see the examples of badges up there?
Yeah, I can see that. Thanks, Don.
Great. So here are some examples of actual organizations using badges. We have Institut Bioforce, who their specialty really is face-to-face courses. So they issue badges based on completion of the face-to-face courses. Esther was mentioning the World Vision example. So that's an online course of about 6 hours, but with about 24 hours of other courses that fold into that they recognize. And then Oxfam as well, again, course completion. The ICRC example at the top right is a really interesting one. It's a very much a blended program over a considerable amount of time to develop these detention professionals. That's that badge there. PHAP is another interesting example. This is standardized testing, what they call micro-certification. So this is an online assessment with proctoring, and in this case, it's an advanced one for meal. So I believe it's 60 questions, and they have to reach a cut score of 70%. So it's takes a certain amount of preparation, and it's a certification that's time delimited, needs to be maintained. Down at the bottom right, Cash Learning Partnership, this is more focused on membership. Just see here. No, I can't advance, just a moment. So we were mentioning the idea of earning badges. That was over on the right-hand side of the diagram when you accept a badge. What you're looking at here is a snapshot of my own my HPass. It gives me an idea of badges I have earned recently, badges I could earn if I wished. And down at the bottom right, I can work with my profile. And I believe I've got a example of, yes, there's my profile here. So it's a way of putting myself forward professionally. So a picture, name, a quick little paragraph about myself, ways of getting in touch with me. You'll see those 3 badges there. Those are ones I'm particularly proud of. So they're in a showcase that I can curate. I can manage that. And then I can further curate this portfolio by adding pages. So over on the top right beside my profile, you'll see something that says digital credentials. And that's actually a page I use to show my expertise. And that has examples of other badges, has even examples of presentations I've made about digital credentials. So it's a great way of putting myself forward. And you'll see there under those tabs, ways of sharing out to social media. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, etc., as well as ways of directly sharing the link to either a page or a badge, or to embed it on other pages. This is a new element that we're really quite excited about. It's ways of mapping profiles and badges to geolocate them. And in this case, they're mapped to OpenStreetMap. And so the notion here is you earn a badge, but you earn a badge in a particular area. Wouldn't it be great to see the status of people who've earned particular badges in East Africa, for example? So we're expecting great things about this from this over the coming months. So just to say that we're indicating some really interesting ways of issuing badges. We do say that the technology is easy, and that thinking through why you're badging is the hard part. We'd like to say that it doesn't have to be too hard, and that there can be a tendency to overthink this and thinking you have to have all the answers before you move. We actually recommend an agile approach, which means to start small, try something out that maybe is pretty low risk, and then work from there, because you're going to have a lot of assumptions and multiple variables that you just need to have some experience with. And to do that in a small, low risk way, and then to build out from there, is a good way to proceed. So in general, what we say is, do you have a course that you're already offering that you might well like to experiment with credentialing with one of these digital badges, just to see how it might go, and then work out from there. So that across the top, I would say that's still 80 to 90% of what organizations are doing worldwide with badging is, take a course, earn a badge. We have mentioned that there are ways of certifying that somebody knows and can do something, can be relied to do something. So that PHAP example is one, but also IBM, and then this Learning and Performance Institute in the UK has similar kinds of badges. That's another interesting way of doing things. But as well, you can just say provide recognition of membership, for example. And that could be the PHAP example here, or the other example is an Italian university basically recognizing alumni. I'm going to flip back to Esther now to talk about next steps.
Great, thanks. So this is what we've been offering organisations this year. So it being a new service, and we're aiming to get as many organisations on board as possible, recognising also that the service benefits from a kind of critical mass of organisations using it, so that the humanitarians that have their profiles can be earning badges from lots of different sources. So we're offering organisations a sponsored licence to create and issue badges for 12 months. And then a bunch of support to help them do that as well. So we do group web clinics, bringing together the different organisations that are working on it to share ideas and things. Dedicated support from Don to create your first badges, and also to think through your initial badge design. So we've got a tool which enables you to create a really nice badge design, and Don can help you create your first ones and think through how you want to represent those. And we've also got some really good materials. So we've got there a guide to digital badging, which takes you through the whole process of creating badges, but also offers some really useful templates on things like organisational badge strategy, and kind of thinking through the sort of questions that you would want to be asking yourself as you develop that. So we had 20 licenses for this year. And I think so far we've got 17 organisations signed up and working on it. So we've got a few more to offer to organisations this year. And we'd be very interested to hear from any of you that would be interested in pursuing this. But also, it would just be great to hear if you've got any questions, because obviously that was a lot of information for us to give you. So it would just be good to hear if there's anything that was unclear or that you'd like a bit more information about.
Hi there, it's Lucy here from ActionAid.
Hi, Lucy.
Thanks for the overview. It sounds really interesting. I was just wondering, just a couple of questions. What's the fee for the support for the development of the badges? And also just how accessible are the badges to national staff or staff of local organisations?
So the first question on the fees. So this year we're offering a 12-month free offer, so there's no charge. And then beyond that first year, it's not a charge so much for support, but for the to access the ability to create and issue badges. Those are the prices that are there. So it's £1,000 annual fee for organisations with turnover of below 5 million GBP annually, and 2,500 for organisations above that amount. And then, so your second question was on accessibility. Obviously, it does require that you have access to the internet, so that is one thing. What's coming by early next year, which should be really interesting, is a mobile version. So you'll be able to kind of store your badges on an offline app, essentially. So you won't always have to have access to the internet in order to be able to display your badges. So that's being developed in the next few months, and should be really good.
Just to follow on with Esther's comments on the technical side, I think in general this is very much in line with the localization agenda. The notion here is that the national staff, we very much want national staff to be able to use this system. So that, in that sense, accessibility very much so for national staff and local theaters of operation.
Thank you. And as well as providing support on the badges, in terms of having a HPass profile, is there additional costs for that for agency staff?
So there's no charge for that. It's free for humanitarians to use. And you don't have to be a staff member of a particular organisation in order to use it.
Okay.
So even if your organisation wasn't signed up to create badges through HPass, you could still sign up as an individual. So if you wanted to earn and display badges, for example, from a public website, so the Academy has one called Kaya, where you can access lots of different humanitarian courses. If you wanted to do those and earn badges and display them from there, or for example, BFORS offers face-to-face courses and is a sort of separate training provider with a public offer. You could display all of that on a portfolio, but be unattached to a particular organisation.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
That's what I want to make sure.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Yes, this is Azad International.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I did some KM stuff.
Hello, sorry, I'm struggling to hear you just a little bit there.
Is that better now?
Oh yeah, that's much better, thanks.
Sure, my
No, that's great.
I was just wondering if I missed part of the presentation. My internet was not good, sorry. But is there any idea of making these badges that different organizations have meaningful to each other? Like you're designing for different organizations, and then how is it going to be translated for the others, or how does that work? I missed that part. I'm sure you discussed it, but.
So in terms of how can one person understand another organization's badges, kind of?
Yeah, and if people move between organizations, or
yeah. So if you as you move between organizations, you can gather badges from different employers. So you could display badges from the time that you were at Save and the time that you were in Oxfam, etc. Depending on where you worked, and accumulate those all in one portfolio. I suppose in terms of how they are made understandable to different audiences, the metadata is really key to that. So inside the badge, when you click on it, you've got the metadata, which tells you exactly what somebody's done to earn that badge. And in a way, that's one thing that really sets it apart from a certificate, because you can put a lot of detail in there. about what the person's done, which makes it quite a sort of verifiable way of documenting learning. I suppose the other thing is that, and this has not been explored in detail yet, but it's something that we've always got in mind, is the idea of organisations potentially collaborating to create badges that they want to recognise across a number of organisations. And it's more, as we work with lots of different organisations, we're kind of picking up their ideas and trying to incorporate that into the into what we're offering. And I think there's definitely scope for that kind of thing to happen. Yeah, so we're just really interested in organisations' ideas on that.
If I can just add to that quickly, we have that example of World Vision deciding to recognize courses being delivered by other organizations. Those could just as easily be badges. So that is your choice as an organization to choose to recognize a badge that represents learning and saying, okay, we can take that as a starting point and simply add this other piece that relates directly to our organization, the final 20%, if you will. The other two things I would say is, Esther mentioned the notion of collaborating on a badge. You can also share a badge. So there's a possibility of, say, for example, there's a safeguarding badge, for example, or actually that's not a good one, a personal safety badge. So awareness of personal safety. So if somebody creates a good course about that, it's respected. Other organizations could ask, can we also deliver that course and issue a badge for it? The first organization can say, yes, you can do that, and here we will share the badge. The other element I can just show you quickly online here is, Esther, I was going to show the Safeguarding Essentials badge and how that's endorsed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah.
So I'm just going to show you an actual badge that developed by the Humanitarian Leadership Academy. I'm actually inside the Badge Factory account now for the Humanitarian Leadership Academy. This is a badge that's actually live and is being offered right now. I'll just show you the details about it. It's basically taking an online course for about 1 to 5 hours. There is a built-in assessment. You have to achieve 80% in the assessment. And in this case, it's endorsed by these organizations. First of all, by Open University, who collaborated on the course development, but then also War Child Holland and War Child UK. And this is why they're endorsing it. And this information actually shows up on the badge. So it actually helps other organizations to say, oh, well, perhaps this is a serious badge if these organizations are involved. So I hope that helps answer the question. If not, let me know.
Yes, great. And the other question I had was about the sort of roster you were talking about, as these people that receive the badges, kind of independent from the organization. Is this going to be a roster that we can tap into in case we need people for deployments? Or how does that work?
It's a great
Yeah,
question.
that's interesting, because it's an idea that we've had for further down the line, is to have that kind of searchable database of people that are on HPass, that other organisations can then look for somebody with a specific skill based on the badges that they have. It's not something that's developed yet, but it's definitely an idea that we've had. And because this year we've been working with organisations to create badges, and that's been our sort of focus. And next year we'll be thinking then it's all about building up our base of humanitarians that are using the system. And that once we've got the badges all there, then there's lots more for people to do on the system. And I think one of the steps after that will be to think about, depending on the size of the database that develops, will be to think about how we can then create that kind of search function. Yeah, but that's a really good question, and definitely something that's been on our minds.
Okay, thanks.
Can I ask on a similar line? Alessandra here from Mercy Corps. So if I had to look for somebody to be deployed within my own organizations, and I am using badges, if I have in my own internal LMS all the potential badges that I would be looking for, I could use them to select the people that I need to go for deployment, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I guess what HPass offers that's different from that is that you would also be able to see things that they had earned from other sources. So you'd also be able to see their whole history in terms of other learning that they've done with other organisations as well.
Okay.
But you're right that you would also be
on.
able to see them there in your own LMS as well,
Okay.
depending on the setup. Yeah.
I see. Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Any further
Hi, this
questions
is
from anybody?
Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi, sorry, I'm from Christing Aid. I had a few connection issues at the start, so apologies if you've already covered this. I just wanted to double check, are we able, as an organisation, able to track what badges our staff members have completed and even mandate them for, say, surge roster members, so we can make sure that they do have the fundamentals, or is it a case of going through profiles to double check?
Don, do you want to answer the question about the analytics that are available on the site?
Sure. The way the
Thanks.
system is set up now is it's learner-owned, learner-driven. What's coming is the notion of organizations being able to sign on and be able to engage with end users. So there would be potentially an internal thing for you saying, these are the requirements for this particular mission, for example, and people could put forward what they need. And then on the public system, the My HPass, you could basically say these are required. It's like a landing page for the organization. This is going to be coming, I think, in the next possibly 4 to 5 months, is the idea of, say, Mercy Corps having its own landing page and saying these are the requirements for this kind of mission. But in general, the system is intended to be sort of a public sort of agora for skills, as it were, rather than an internal purpose-built, restricted thing just for a particular organization. I don't know if that's helpful or not. There are variations on that could be done, but in terms of the basic offering, the idea is that these are the skills that are on offer. These are the people who have the skills. These are the organizations who are interested in these skills, and they can start to engage with each other, rather than this is my roster inside my organization. This is how I'm controlling the skills in my organization. So it's not to say that that latter is not possible, but it's not part of the basic offering.
Okay, thank you. And how many courses are in English as opposed to French, Arabic, etc.? We recently had to do a bit of work in safeguarding in French to make sure that some of our staff members in the DRC had safeguarding that they could really truly understand, as opposed to if it's in English where they had a more superficial understanding. Are all the courses currently in English, or are you looking to diversify the different badges that are on offer?
Esther, do you want to
Yeah,
answer
sure.
that, or do you want me to start?
Yeah, I was just taking myself off mute. Sorry about that. So it depends what courses. It depends on the language that you're offering the course in, essentially. So you should be able to badge a course in any language. You can choose what it is that you want to badge and the kind of format that it's delivered in. And then the badges themselves also are available in a number of different languages, but I might have to hand over to you, Don, to talk about what different languages are available in the badges.
Sure, but I think the sense of the question is one that I should address, and that is, this is a recognition service, and it's intended to enable organizations to recognize learning that they're offering. There is the Kaya platform, which is a number of organizations are participating on. There's lots of free courses that are available on that, but that is distinct from what we're talking about here. So when you ask about, for example, a safeguarding course, an organization has to make that safeguarding course available in French, in English, etc. That's not an HPass thing. That would be more a Humanitarian Leadership Academy thing. So that I would take up that question with the Academy itself and not HPass, which is this enabling platform for organizations and individuals. That said, it does support French, English, Spanish, and Arabic in terms of the platform. The badges themselves can support all the European languages and Arabic and a number of other languages as well. That's simply a function of our alignment with an ISO language standard. So in other words, the content of the badge itself is up to you. We merely give you a label to say, okay, this language is Urdu, and then you provide the words in Urdu. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Are there any final questions from anybody? Okay, great. Oh, well, thanks for listening and thanks for all of your excellent questions. I can send around the recording afterwards and the slides if that would be helpful. And then obviously just feel free to follow up if there's any more information that you'd like. Yeah, and we hope to hear from some of you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. It's
Thanks
been
a lot.
interesting.